Hi everyone, we're going to continue our review with, now we're going to move on. Here we have a single step equation. We're going to move on from that into two-step equations. So here again we have our constant, our variable, and then over here we have our solution. This is an equation. If we're just talking about the b plus 6 and it doesn't equal anything, that's an expression. Just throwing these words out again, get your memories jogged. Some of you, it might have been a while since you've had Algebra 1. So again, we always want to deal with our constant first. We have addition. We're going to use the inverse operation. We subtract 6, b equals 9. B equals 3. Fairly simple. Again, just trying to get those memories going. Okay. However, any term can also be multiplied. Okay, so you can always multiply anything in a term. However, we still have a constant, a constant term, a variable term, and our solution. As always, we want to deal with the constant first. We use the inverse operation, so we subtract 2. We are left with 3 times b equals 15. When we write these number directly with a variable, that number becomes the coefficient. And when they're just squished together like that, it's understood that that means the 3 is being multiplied by that variable. Again, I'm sure you've had this before, just trying to make sure that everything is nice and fresh in your brain. So in order to unmultiply, use the inverse. The inverse of multiplication is division. So now we need to divide everything by 3. And we get b equals 5. Okay? However, variables can also be divided. Or we can write this exact same equation as 1/3 b minus 2 equals 13. It's the exact same thing, whether you have a variable inside a fraction as the numerator, or you have a fraction being multiplied by the variable. It still means, in this case, we're dividing by 3. So if your variable is somehow involved with a fraction, it means you're dividing. Okay, but as always, we want to deal with the constant first. We're using the inverse operation, so we add 2, b divided by 3 equals 15. Well, we need, again, the inverse operation. So the inverse of division is now multiplication. We're going to multiply the entire equation by 3, and we get b equals 45. Okay? Now this one looks like we've kind of gone back a step, right? Because we have 5 minus h equals 12. We don't have any coefficients. We don't have anything being multiplied by that h, except that we do. However, we always want to deal with our constant first, even if our constant actually comes first in this case. So here we have 5, just a regular 5. It doesn't have an operation. Actually, the h is performing the operation on the 5. However, we have a 5. We want to get rid of this 5. Since it's not specified that it's negative, we're going to assume that it's positive because that's how numbers work. So in order to get rid of a positive 5, we subtract 5 and use its opposite. Subtract 5 over here. And now we're left with negative h equals 7. Sorry. Now we have this negative before our h. So our coefficient in this case is actually negative 1. That's a 1, not a 7. So now we need to divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, and we get h equals negative 7. Okay, so don't forget that when you're subtracting a variable, that variable has a coefficient of negative 1. Alright, so that is all for two-step equations. Hopefully that gets your memories going on those equations. Alright, guys?